On behalf of Bishop Conderla, who's out of town this morning, welcome to Holy Family Cathedral. This is your cathedral. You are always welcome here. I know you all have your own parishes, but if you're ever in Tulsa, if you're ever around, you need a little break, come on down to Holy Family. We're glad you're here. Special welcome to my brother priests, to the beautiful sisters that are here, many of our deacons, and to all of you who have joined us for this Jubilee Mass here this morning with a specific intention of highlighting, celebrating, and praying for your clergy and religious. I want to tell you about a woman I knew as I was growing up, and her name is Mary Rose Buckley. Mary Rose was one of those ladies at church who was just always there. Maybe you're one of those ladies. She was always there, daily Mass, Eucharistic adoration, every year sponsored multiple people through OCIA. Well, she and my mom became friends. My mom is about 20 years younger than Mary Rose, but they became church buddies. They'd go to adoration together, go to Mass together. They eventually started a little outreach to the poor locally. They had a little bread route. They'd go and pick up groceries and bring them over and help people. Well, as a young man, I got to know Mary Rose because she was always around my mom. And so from when I was in middle school, Mary Rose was not shy about coming up to me and saying, "You should think about being a priest." She was little, probably 5'1". Think Mother Teresa. And she would poke her finger in my chest and she would say, "I think you should be a priest." Now, she knew a thing about priests. She had a son who was a priest, a Purist father out in Washington, D.C., a member of a religious community. And then as I grew up, every once in a while, once or twice a year, Mary Rose would pull me aside and tell me that I should think about being a priest. Well, that sort of went away for a little while. I thought about it, and it was kind of on and off, as often happens in discernment. Well, I go off to college, finish college, and go off to graduate school. And my first year of graduate school, I meet a nice girl. And her name is Karen. And Karen and I kind of hit it off. Karen and I started dating. It was a little serious, we were kind of talking, and I decided to bring Karen home to meet my parents. A big step in a relationship, So I bring Karen home to Houston, Texas, where I grew up, introduce her to my parents, and Karen and I go to Mass. And who's at Mass? Mary Rose. And so I say, "Mary Rose, this is my girlfriend. Her name is Karen." And Mary Rose, very polite. "Oh, nice to meet you." Well, 6 months later, Karen and I split up. I became a priest. She's married now, thriving family. Everybody is good. But I come back to Houston to visit my parents in the summer, and I go to Mass, and there's Mary Rose. And Mary Rose walks up and says, how's that girlfriend of yours?" And I said, "You know what, Mary Rose? We broke up." And she said, "Good, I've been praying for that." Do not mess with the old ladies at church. Mary Rose knew something that as a young man I didn't. She saw something in me that said, "I think this young man could be a priest." I'm so glad that she did. And she certainly wasn't the only one who encouraged me in my own vocation. My parents, my grandparents, teachers in school, friends' parents, college roommates, just along the way, people would give little shots of encouragement. It's so beautiful to be here this morning to celebrate the Jubilee. Right? This is a great gift given to us by Pope Francis of blessed memory, carried on by Pope Leo XIV. Pope Leo himself, by the way, not only a priest, but a religious priest, the member of a religious order, the Order of St. Augustine, present here in our own diocese at Cashel Hall Preparatory School and have been for decades. We're given this great Jubilee, and we're given it this particular day in the Easter season. And perhaps more importantly, on the eve of Pentecost. We celebrate on Pentecost the coming of the Holy Spirit. Jesus talked about that he was going to go and ascend, and that something would come along, that the Holy Spirit would come upon the church. But the disciples, the apostles, they didn't know what that was going to look like. There was kind of an unknown to it. But when Pentecost happened to them, they knew it. So it's a Jubilee year. Today is day 30 of the pontificate of Pope Leo XIV, a priest and religious. It's the eve of Pentecost. And we come here in a specific way to pray for our diocese and to pray for the men and women religious, many of them present here, as well as for your priests and for your deacons. This group here is no doubt a group of faithful Catholics, right? Striving to live out our faith. You wouldn't be here on a Saturday morning just by accident. And so I think there's a common wish that we all have. And the common wish that everyone in this church this morning has is that you wish we had more priests and religious. Right, just on a practical note, more opportunities for Mass, more opportunities to go to confession, more opportunities to see priests and religious in and around the diocese, in our schools, in our parishes, in our hospitals, to have the presence of priests and religious. We all have a wish that there would be more of us. Imagine if there were twice as many religious sisters in our diocese as there are now. Imagine if there were twice as many priests. Just on a practical level, that'd be awesome. We wish that. But there's a difference that the church makes between being wishful and being hopeful. When we wish something, it's sort of just like something kind of out there, almost that we almost don't have any control over. Gosh, I really wish I could do that. I wish I had that skill. I wish I had that, right? And we say it sort of flippantly. We say it as if, gosh, that would be just great. I have no idea how to do that, but I wish. Well, the church says that hope is a theological virtue, that hope is a particular expression of faith in God, that God is going to bring it about. That yes, we wish it and we want it, but that God, in his divine providence, in his goodness, in his love for us, that God can in fact bring it about. And so I think it's up to us, relying on God's providence, relying on God's strength, to think about, what does the Diocese of Tulsa look like if there were twice as many priests and religious? What would that look like? Now you might say, it's not going to happen. The culture in which we live, that's not going to happen. Young people today, they're not thinking about the priesthood and religious life. No, it's just not going to happen. We're too small. We're too poor. Nobody cares about Tulsa. Nobody wants to move to Oklahoma. Right? All of those things, by the way, are lies. Everyone wants to move to Oklahoma. Lots and lots and lots of young people are thinking about priesthood and religious life. More than you might think. And so imagine the Diocese of Tulsa with twice as many men and women religious, and twice as many diocesan priests, twice as many diocesan deacons. Right? Imagine what that would look like. So, how does that get brought about? We can wish all we want, but it's going to take the people in this cathedral to continue to build up a culture of vocations, right? We have that going. 500 or so folks were there last night over at St. Mary's for a priests versus seminarians kickball game. The seminarians won, by the way. But it was just a beautiful event, a beautiful celebration of the Catholic faith. We had some fun. Got a chance to meet some new people. Got a chance to see priests and seminarians maybe in a new light. We're building a culture of vocations, but how does that happen? It happens by people like Mary Rose Buckley. Mary Rose herself raised a son who became a priest. My guess is that that was a difficulty for Mary Rose. She was born and raised in Houston, Texas, and her son chose to go off to Washington, D.C. to join a religious order. I'll bet that was really hard to see her son walk out that door and never come back. Not that they don't see each other or can't talk on the phone, but to see your son walk out the door to join something different, that must have been very hard. My own parents, when I decided to join with the Diocese of Tulsa and not go back home to Houston, for about 10 years, every time I'd go home, my mom would say, "Are you ever going to come back to Houston?" And eventually, I kind of had to sit her down and say, "Mom, I'm married to Tulsa. And so I need you to love my bride. So stop saying that." And she did. To watch your daughter go off to religious life, I'm guessing is a difficult thing. But there is in our beautiful Catholic faith a call to stewardship, a call to generosity with our lives. And we do that in our time, in our prayer. We do that in our talents, giving of ourselves to the diocese and to our parishes, to our religious communities. We do that with our treasure. But I think there is, especially among parents, something heroic that may be being asked of you. And that is that your son or your daughter may just tell you that they want to be a priest or that they want to join a religious community. And the reaction might just be, well, can't somebody else's son do that? Can't somebody else's daughter fill that space? It requires a heroic generosity on the part of parents to give of your own children and to not just sort of passively let them go out the door and send them off, but to heroically encourage them. And so parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, the Mary Rose Buckleys out here, when was the last time you walked up to a young man or a young woman in your parish or in your household and said, "I think you would be a really good priest. I think you should think about religious life. I think you would be a wonderful religious sister. I think you would be a wonderful priest." When was the last time? It requires some courage. It requires some discernment. Don't just say it to every kid. But look around your parish. Look around your household. And pray and say, "Lord, who do you want me to talk to? Who out there needs a little encouragement?" You might be the Mary Rose Buckley in the life of a young person. We are not people of wishing. We are people of hope. And you and I have an opportunity to continue to build this diocese into something very special. I read literally just yesterday that the Diocese of Tulsa is number 2 in the country of infant baptisms per Catholic. We're top 10 in the country in seminarians per Catholic. We rank high on all kinds of these lists. And yet, every single one of us wishes we had more priests and more religious. Well, how does that happen? It happens by parishes. It happens by families encouraging the young people that you know, talking to them, praying for them, and encouraging them. We are people of hope, and we believe that God can really bring this about. A renewal in the life of the church, a renewal in religious life, a renewal in the life of our clergy. And what are we looking for? We're looking for clergy, your priests and your deacons, right? You want us to be men of prayer, first and foremost, to be good shepherds to you, our people. What are we looking for in men and women religious? Men and women of prayer, first and foremost, who have a sense of mission. We heard just recently at our convocation this week, all the priests were together. And we heard that the church without women religious is like a family without a mother. None of us want that church. But it's our responsibility, yours and mine, everybody sitting here, to not only wish, but to pray and to have supernatural hope that God can indeed bring this about here in the Diocese of Tulsa and around the world. Praised be Jesus Christ, now and forever.